App creation is a cyclical process with ongoing revisions based on user feedback and requirements. At Thunkable, we think about the app creation process as it relates to the 4 Ds: design, develop, debug, and deploy. We'll start at the beginning with design. Having a well-designed app is critical to ensuring your users can effectively navigate the features of your app. Most of our creators design directly in the Thunkable Design tab. Some prefer to sketch their ideas out on paper before adding UI components to their screens in Thunkable, and others still use design programs like Figma. No matter which method you use, the design phase will help you visualize the screens themselves and how the user flows between them. Regardless of your method, there are a few key things to consider when designing your app. First, and most importantly, seriously, we can't stress this enough, start with your vision for a minimum viable product, or MVP app. This version of your app will provide value to your users as simply as possible. In an employee directory app, for example, the MVP could be just 2 screens that display a list of employees and their details. For future iterations, we could add a login screen, user roles, and user inputs. But for the MVP, the main goal of the app is to allow employees to see information about their coworkers. Now that you have a vision of the MVP you want to create, you can start adding Thunkable UI components and building out your app's user interface on the Thunkable Design tab. Design is such an important and often overlooked phase in the app development process that we'll have a Thunkable Academy course dedicated to this phase alone. Next up is the Develop phase. This is where you move from the Design tab to the Blocks tab and start adding functionality to your app. This is done using Thunkable's drag-and-drop block technology. Put simply, blocks are visual representations of code, and how you connect the blocks defines how the app behaves. Creators have a library of predefined blocks available, from simpler behaviors such as navigating from one screen to another or changing the color of a button, to more complex behaviors such as push notifications, camera functionality, and integrations with APIs. The options are endless for what you can build with Thunkable blocks. The third D is debug. We cannot stress enough how crucial this phase is for app development. Designing and developing a slick app is great, but if it doesn't work, it's useless. Debugging an app involves testing it using the web preview in your browser or the Thunkable Live app on your device. We recommend testing regularly, certainly after you've developed a series of app behaviors, but also after adding just a block or 2. Testing regularly helps to pinpoint exactly where in the development process an error is introduced. If you find something isn't working when you're testing, we recommend using error handling to identify any errors that are being generated. Adding an error output label is a great way to view errors in your app. Let's take a look. In this very simple app, there is a button, an identifier label, and 2 output labels. Now let's take a look at the blocks. You'll notice this dark purple block has mint green outputs. This is an advanced block. Some blocks are available in a standard version or an advanced version, such as the camera blocks. Others are strictly standard or advanced. This is an example of a block that is only advanced. It has 3 outputs, and for the purposes of this course, we'll focus on the error output. This conditional if-do-else block tells the app if you receive an error output, set the error output label's text to the contents of the error output. If you don't receive an error output, set the error output label's text to OK, and set the data output's text to the response output, in this case, the data requested from the connected API. Let's test with the web preview. The error message helps you, as the creator, identify what errors are being generated. When you're ready to publish your app as a production version for users, you can remove the error handling. With Thunkable, debugging is quick and simple, and any app you build on Thunkable will be tried and tested by the time you get to deploy. This is the phase in the app development cycle where you publish your application for others to use. With Thunkable, you can build one app that can be published to iOS, Android, and the web. The process for each is a bit different. Check out the publishing resources within the Thunkable docs for detailed instructions that will walk you step by step through how to publish your mobile app to each platform. Deploy may be the 4th and final D, but that's not the end of the Thunkable app development journey. Remember, it's an iterative process. A successful app creation will see you repeating these phases over and over again. On your next pass through the cycle, consider where you'd like to concentrate your efforts on leveling up your app from the MVP. What other features would your users benefit from? What feedback have you received from users that you can action to improve the user experience? Are you ready to monetize your app with in-app purchases and ads? A great app is one that is regularly being iterated on. Design, develop, debug, deploy, repeat. Thanks for tuning in for Design, Develop, Debug, and Deploy Your Thunkable App, an overview. As they say, Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither was a brilliant app. Keep the process going. And remember, if you can think it, you can thunk it.